Welcome to the Holding Priority Podcast, the Magic the Gathering CDH podcast. I'm Cardboard Cryptid.
And I'm the Gaming Ghost.
On today's episode, we will discuss Magic 2024. This will be part one of two parts. So we'll finish the year out with part one, and then early January, we'll finish it up with part two.
Oh, man. 2024. I can't believe some of these sets were still in this year.
Yeah. It's one of those things that I always like to watch other like YouTube channels like go over like year in review, and I've kind of taken all of the things I like from like several of those YouTube channels and combined them here. Like I really like data, so there's going to be a lot of data, and then also wanted to go over like cards of the year. So we'll have a full podcast for you guys.
It was an eventful year. I mean, from the bands all the way through all of the sets.
Yeah.
Like there was a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, I even thought about covering like major events, and I looked at all of the stuff I already had listed, and I was just like, I don't think so. Like maybe I'll have like a small section at the end, but yeah, a lot happened this year. Before we get into the episode, let's go into the shuffle up. We have some new comments. So you guys really like the upcoming CDH Commanders video. Thank you so much. We got a lot of comments on there. Koka Shimoda, you said, yo, thanks for the shout out. You guys make me want to pick up Tivit again.
I have been playing Tivit. Really fun.
Yeah, he looks fun. It's one of the few commanders that I've thought about, even though you have the deck, still building it.
Yeah, I proxied it out again just to play it. Yeah.
Patrick Owens, friend of the channel, says Captain America is the commander I am most excited about playing in CDH. Recently, Captain America, I think top 16 in a major tournament.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I know that I've been sending that list to a couple people that were interested. So, Alex Fabian says, I love your podcast. Thank you. Emily Smith says, praise be to Glarb.
This is something I'm wanting to build as well.
Yeah, Glarb. I mean, he's a frog, so he. Yeah.
Instant top.
And then I wanted to go over. We have a comment on Apple Podcasts. I'm kind of new to just podcasts in general. I did not know that you could leave full-on reviews at Apple Podcasts. You can't on, or maybe you do. Maybe you can on Spotify. I just don't know. But Apple Podcasts, I saw that we are 5 out of 5 star rating podcast with 5 ratings. If you guys went and gave us a rating, thank you so much. If you haven't, please go over there and do that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Josh in BKK says, love listening when driving or at the gym, 5 stars. Love when people have a passion about something and want to share it with others. I listen when I'm driving or at the gym, and it helps keep me informed. Also, Texas. That's awesome. Thank you, Josh.
Yeah, thanks, man.
And that's pretty much all we have for new comments. Again, if you guys can go rate us 5 stars on your podcast platform of choice, it really helps. We just recently hit 2,000 downloads on all of our podcast platforms. It took us a while to get 1,000. I remember because I was on vacation, we hit 1,000 in the beginning of October. So just in the beginning of October, month and a half, we got our second 1,000. So it's growing. And
we can't say thanks enough, guys. Yeah, honestly,
it's grown because of you guys. I don't really go on Twitter very much. I definitely promote the podcast as much as I can, but it would not grow without you guys. So I really appreciate the work you guys are putting in.
Much thanks.
And then just a reminder, we do have bills to pay, so we do have a link tree. If you can just click our TCG player link whenever you go and buy cards, it's free for you. It's a great way to support the channel. Doing what you guys have already been doing, just watching the podcast, listening to it, going on YouTube, liking the comments or liking the podcast, leaving comments, all that stuff helps. On our link tree, we do have our social media and our YouTube. There will be a visual component to this when we go over some of the commanders of 2024. I will have a visual representation up on the screen. If you don't remember who Rakdos the Muscle is or any of those, and you want to kind of follow along, YouTube is the best place to do it. And then also, just if you like the podcast, just set us to auto download. That way you always have us ready. If you hit like a dead spot in your drive, you're not, not listening to us for 10 minutes.
You should.
Yeah. I go on a lot of trips out in very desolate places for some of my hobbies. So I definitely make sure I have downloads ready. And I have a friend that has a Egyptology podcast, and I set it to auto download, and it's really nice because I'll hit those dead zones not knowing it, and I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'm going over to my friend's podcast. All right. Well, that is enough keeping shop. Thank you guys for listening. Let's get on to 2024 in review.
Let's do it.
I am going to go over some of the data for Magic 2024. So just in general, this is the 32nd year of Magic the Gathering. Some of the stats I'm going to go over, and then I am going to compare it to 2023, just because I know that people have been talking about like power creep and stuff like that in MTG. So I want to make sure that we're kind of like looking at, is that actually happening? Is there more product coming out? And a lot of these surprised me.
I don't know if they're like, I would assume that it kind of got shut down this year just because of the bans, but
Yeah,
you never know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm seeing this too.
And we're also so I pulled this data myself off Scryfall. I didn't scrub it or anything like that. And when you hear the numbers, you'll understand why. But I will say that I am only looking at things that are legal in Commander. So if you do your own Scryfall pull, you might have different stuff. If you're looking at just things that aren't legal in Commander, I wanted to focus, because this is a CDH podcast, only on the things that we could use in Commander. So let's get into the numbers. So the number of unique cards printed legal in Commander. If you had to guess how many cards were printed this year, what would you guess?
Couple thousand?
6,484 cards. Unique cards printed legal in Commander. So this includes reprints. It should have been 6,485, but they banned Nadu, which makes me sad. Rest in peace, my sweet prince. That total in 2023 was 4,734. So it's up 37%. I will say, because I was like, that's a lot, like almost 40% more. Some of those are the creeping cards from not Murders of Karlov, Duskmourn. The ones that had like the unique card and then the card that had like the monster in the back.
That makes sense.
Those had unique set numbers, so those do count. So that set alone was like 400, 500 cards because of that.
I would also assume, since Foundations came out this year, it would, going into the next year, kind of be lower.
So we did have Jumpstart in 2023, though. So like every year we have had like a core set, but Foundations is new, so it is one of the reasons why it's up a little bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, 40%, almost 2,000 more cards is a lot.
Yeah.
So reprints, there were 4,425 reprints. So 68.3% of the cards were reprints. In 2023, number was 2,811, which was 59.4%. So we almost had 10% more that were reprints this year. And a lot of that is the amount of secret layers that we had. We'll kind of get into that, but also there was a lot of reprints in Assassin's Creed and stuff like that. So when I looked at it like holistically, I was like, oh, okay, I understand. But seeing that there were 10% more reprints this year, I was like, that's a lot.
Yeah, I think the secret layer market is kind of going up.
Oh yeah. I have a whole section for that. So yeah. New cards. There were 2,059 new cards that were legal in Commander. 31.7% of the cards that were printed this year were completely new cards legal in Commander. That number in 2023 was 1,923, which was 40.6% of cards.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, we've seen a lot of newer cards come into the format now.
Yeah.
From Into the Flood Mall to Trouble in Pairs or whatever. It's all been in there.
And I like, maybe because we didn't have a podcast last year, but this year I was like, every time I turn around, every month there's a new something.
New set,
And like we've had trouble. We've not had to think about very many subjects for the podcast. Like even releasing bi-weekly, Magic's kept us busy. So I thought that was cool. This one I thought was interesting. So there were 341 cards that could be considered new commanders. So anything that was a legendary creature that's legal in Commander. So 16.6% of new cards. In 2023, there was a complaint with a lot of the people that played Standard. There were like so many things that are printed are legendary creatures for Commander players. So like whenever I build my Standard deck, because I can put 4 of a single card in, like it's affecting my ability to build Standard at this point. So last year in 2023, when people kind of brought that complaint up, there were 403 new legendary creatures, so 21%. And Magic did say that they realized that was a problem. So we can see the direct feedback, effective feedback. So
that's good though.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like whereas they stopped overprinting a bunch of, kind of in general ones, they've fine-tuned some contenders into the format, which is interesting.
And I mean, in Standard, I know Siege Rhino was like a huge Standard card, and that's three pips. But in Standard, a lot of the times, if it's 3 pips, you're just not looking at it for your Standard deck, like with some exceptions. But a lot of the commanders this year, like, were pretty clear that they should be commanders and not somewhere else. So I wanted to look at the new cards that were specifically put in commander sets. So, made for Commander. We had 380 cards this year that were made for Commander, specifically put in commander sets. That's 18.5% of new cards. In 2024, and this is not counting, what was it, the Commander Foundation? Not Commander Foundation.
Masters.
Commander Masters. I didn't count those. So this is not Commander Masters. 455 cards, 22.1% in 2023.
Yeah, so they've kind of slowed down a little bit.
Yeah. So there were 75 new cards more last year, which I thought was interesting. Like, they did seem like they were just printing. Like, I'll say this year, I felt like they were printing tons of commander decks. And even so, like with MH3, it seemed like they came out with a lot too.
I think it was like 4 or 5, huh?
Yeah, but I mean that's Modern Horizons. So like a lot of people were upset that there were commander sets in general.
Yeah, that's true.
But I thought that there was a lot this year, and like they actually scaled it down almost 4%.
I mean that's good that they're taking the feedback and using it a little bit. Yeah.
So the next set is Secret Layer. So overall history of Secret Layer, there's been 63 total drops in history, and then 5 full decks printed total in history. This year we had 13 of 63. So every month and then an extra one, which was this month, there was two. We had a secret layer drop. So like if you every time secret layer came out spent about $200 to get the like free shipping or the extra card or whatever, I'm sorry you spent like 200 almost $300 or like $2,000 to $3,000 in secret layers this year.
Well, I mean, to be fair though, like there's been a lot of really good cards coming out, and they got a lot of licenses.
Yeah.
I think it's licenses or whatever it is, approval.
Yeah,
if you will, for like the Chucky set, and then
they've been really good at licensing different IPs for all that stuff.
For sure, there was a lot.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting that literally there's only ever been 63, and we had 13 of them this year.
That's awesome.
The number of secret layer cards that were printed, which for the most part, all secret layer cards are reprints. That was kind of the idea. We'll go over that didn't happen this year. 5.7% of all unique cards in general printed this year were secret layer cards. Like 367 secret layer cards. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of commanders just in the Marvel stuff.
Oh yeah, they know who they're printing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Number of full decks. So a reminder, there's only been 5 full decks total in history printed. We got 2 of them this year. Raining Cats and Dogs and 20 Ways to Win. And if you tried to buy Raining Cats and Dogs, just hearing that probably like gave you a little heart attack. That deck is so expensive now.
Yeah.
And then just kind of a side note about Secret Lair. So there were 6 cards in Secret Lair this year that were not legal in Commander. There were 5 My Little Pony cards that came out that had like extremely specific rules that were fun. Like I think one of them was like if somebody's smiling in the card art, it gets +1/+1, or like so like silly stuff, but like fun stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
and then a Gristlebrand reprint, who's not legal in Commander.
That makes me sad.
Yeah,
I understand it, but I do have a Gristlebrand from way back when.
Pulled from a pack when he was new.
Yeah, way back when.
And then 8 cards in total were just tokens. And then, like we said, 5 were totally unique to Secret Lair, which were Marvel Heroes, which if you got one, congrats.
They were sold out almost immediately.
Yeah, they were sold out almost immediately, and also people figured out how to edit the URL to jump the queue to get in. So a lot of people were kind of upset about that, which, I mean, we've had 63 total drops. You think that they would have figured that out by now? Yeah, to me, whenever I heard of Secret Lair, I thought that the idea was to never print something in it that was unique. And I think like The Walking Dead did start this, which eventually they did a universe within reprint of The Walking Dead, but like it took a year. And a lot of those Marvel secret layers are pretty good. Like I personally I was lucky. I got Storm. I didn't get her in foil or anything like that, but I was able to get her and only her out of the secret layer drop, and I built a deck with her, and I'm having a lot of fun playing her. Let's go on to the sets. So sets are a little weird. There were 10 total, but if we look at just new set symbols this year, there were 16. That includes the commander icons and the bonus sheet. So if you hear some people say that we had more than 10, they're probably referring to that. The big score, the Hee-Haw set, I always forget the name.
Thunder Junction.
Thunder Junction. There was actually supposed to be a mini set right after Thunder Junction. That was an epilogue, but everybody hated Aftermath last year, so they didn't do it, and they just threw it in. So Outlaws of Thunder Junction got a bonus sheet and also that whole epilogue. So technically there were 3 sets in the there were 3 sets. You could pull a pack where you had 4 set symbols because you could have the standard set, the commander set, the big score, and the bonus sheet.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. We had 1 core set this year, Foundations. We had 4 expansion sets, which should be their model going forward. 4 sets, 4 big expansion sets every year, which was Murders at Karlov Manor, Outlaws of Thunder Junction, Bloom Bureau, and Duskmorn House of Horror.
That was a lot of fun though. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we went to Command Fest for Thunder Junction.
Yeah. I will say if I had to pick what my least favorite was, it'd be Murders of Karlov Manor, but like
Yeah.
that was a stacked set. Like I still buy that set if I see a like collector's pack because of the surveillance. Like
Yeah, the surveil lands were the hit.
yeah.
And I just liked them and kind of set them to the side.
Yeah.
And then I looked at them and I was like, oh man,
and now everybody's asking to trade for him.
Yeah. I was like, oh no, I don't trade them.
Yeah. We had 1 non-rotation set this year, which was Modern Horizons 3. We had 1 reprint set, which was Ravnica Remastered. We had the Jumpstart set that was part of Foundations. And then we had 2 Universe Beyond sets, Fallout and Assassin's Creed.
God, I bought so much of Fallout.
Fallout was cool. I mean, you got your first serialized card this year, too.
I did.
Yeah.
Turned it into a guy's cradle.
And then Assassin's Creed is just, it came out, Magic didn't promote it, and then something else came out the next week. And like, I'm still seeing cards that, even though we did the set review, I'm still seeing cards that I'm like, oh yeah, that's good in Sisay, or like, oh, this is really good here. Like,
Yeah, I started using is it Bashin?
oh yeah.
Anyway, is a Demir assassin. He's pretty good.
And then this is something I didn't know. It kind of came and went. We had our first Chaos Vault drop, the fairest drop of them all, this month. And Chaos Vault is going to be something new that they're doing. I did realize that there were like 2 drops this month, and I was just like, what is the second one? So for me, it went under the radar. Maybe like I just haven't been keeping up with news and I missed it. But for you guys, just FYI as well, the Chaos Vault is described as the Chaos Orb of Secret Layer store sections. Experimental Chaos Vault drops will drop at multiple moments. So we should expect these in 2025. This set that dropped, the fairest drop of them all, was like a whole bunch of full art, like kind of like the Deafening Silence that came out with the Phyrexian guy in the corner and like the crazy written art. That's like the full art.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. So it was a full set of those. I wasn't super interested in them whenever I checked them out. It looked like a cool drop if you're like really into enchantments, but enchantments and CDH, if it's not Rhystic Study or Mystic Remora,
Yeah. I mean,
but yeah, I just thought it was cool that number 1 that flew under the radar for me, and number 2 that they're gonna basically, like, in short, they're gonna try out experimental card drops. So like experimental arts that kind of change the way the cards look. Like, don't expect the cards to look like normal Magic cards in these drops, which I thought Secret Lair did anyway. So
this is my first time hearing about the fairest drop of them all.
yeah. Kind of wrapping up the data, what do you think was the biggest surprise for 2024 for you?
I guess year over year, you think, Magic is a machine, like Wizards of the Coast is just going. But it is kind of cool that they've gotten some feedback and they've adjusted.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought that.
Yeah.
Personally.
I thought it was interesting that there were things that went up 40%. So like the number of unique cards went up 40%. And also like certain things went way down, like new commanders or stuff like that. Like you'd expect if they're pushing out more product, everything to go up this year. Because to me, it did feel like everything just was like product like all the time. And then also to me, like I knew that we were constantly turning around and getting a secret layer like all the time. It felt like a lot where I was constantly like in our Discord and just being like, hey guys, this new thing dropped. To where I was like, am I bothering people by just constantly telling when new cards are out? And whenever I saw that there were 13 drops this year and 367 total new cards from, or not new cards, but like new arts from the secret layer, I was like, okay, that makes a lot more sense.
I missed 2 for sure.
Yeah.
Like I didn't get a chance to get any of the Marvel stuff, and then but there was another one. I think the deck that came out, I completely missed it.
Oh, the Rain Cats and Dogs.
Well, yeah, both actually. So
Yeah.
3.
They're $150. Like,
yeah, but I mean, anytime I buy secret layers, you're looking to spend 200 to 300.
Yeah,
ish.
But again, if you bought all of them, you spent like 3,000, 4,000 in just secret layers this year.
Not that I would do anything like that.
Yeah, no, I was just like, to me, like, this was not as bad as going through my bank accounts and seeing how much I spent on Magic, which I would never do that to myself.
Oh my god!
But looking at all the products that came out, I was just like, that's I'm starting to put this in perspective.
I mean, I really enjoy it though. Like, there's a lot of, not that it's got a whole lot of resellable value per se, but I don't feel like it ages bad.
Yeah,
personally.
No, I have looked at my collection before and been like, it would be a pain to move all of this. However, for a hobby that I do pretty often and keeps me very entertained, the amount of value I've put in and I can get back out is pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I like looking at my cards though. There's a lot of very good gems that I find in it.
Mm-hmm.
And this year had some really cool arts as well.
And some of those gems are now signed too.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's my
it.
thing. Like, I love getting them signed. Cool. Yeah, so hope you guys found that interesting. We're kind of speeding through everything, but this is going to be the podcast that comes out right before Christmas. So we kept it short for you so you could spend more time with your loved ones. We do it for you.
We haven't ended it yet, though. So don't tell them that. It's like, well, this was like 4 hours now.
We went over a page of data in 30 minutes. That's good for us.
I guess.
So now I will be switching to a visual component. So if you guys are listening in podcast world, you should be able to follow along. If you are on our YouTube, you will see that there are cards up on the screen now. And when I put these things on screen, I won't be going into them like as much as we would in a set review, because on a set review, these are like completely new cards. On here, we'll have 55 like cards that came out in 2024 in general. We're just doing the commanders right now. Part 2 will have like every card that came out this year that we saw in CDH that was impactful in CDH. But when these come up, I'll probably just say the name. If you guys want to see the entire card, please head on over to YouTube, and the entire time we talk, the card will be up. You'll be able to see everything you need to know what's going on. All right. So our first commander that was new to 2024 is a mono blue, Aluge, the Shoreless Sea. The thing about Aluge was whenever he enters or attacks, you put a flood counter on target land. It's an island in addition to its other types for as long as it has a flood counter on it. The first instant or sorcery card you cast each turn costs blue, or 1 colorless less to cast for each land you control with a flood counter on it. So he is mono blue and makes your counters free. So all of your 1 blue pip counters are free the moment he comes in, which is pretty crazy.
I haven't seen this one be played, but do you think they use the extra turn spells?
I think it's all free counters. It got top 16 in a pretty big tournament. I don't think it was the boil. I think it was one of the big tournaments that had like 120 people in it before. I remember just seeing it on. I remember seeing it on the set review, and we were just like, "This is great." And then all of a sudden, like it started doing well. I wouldn't say that like this is a card that you're gonna see in every tournament you go to, but it's had a couple entries in it, and it was a Bloomberg card, so it was pretty late to the year.
Yeah, it's the monocolored uh, cards that kind of have trouble moving forward, but it has to have really good stats to be standing alone.
Yeah, and I mean this one, the reason that we kind of said that it's like not going to be a new staple is because it's one colorless blue, blue, blue. Which I mean it's mono blue, so it's 4 mana, but still like 4 mana is pretty considerable just to turn, when your cards in hand that are not free counters into free counters.
Yeah.
But still like sounds like a blast. Like just having free counters for everybody all the time. Like sounds good. How do you close the game in mono blue? Pretty hard. But
I mean, probably the Thassa artifact
yeah.
move where you just exile your entire deck.
Or like leveler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Well, there's a leveler, and then there's also a 5-cost artifact, I believe, that you put it out, you tap it, and you can exile your entire deck. I saw it used in Shorkai, but it was like new to me. So
it sounds nasty, man. Like you get to mid game, and then all of a sudden you just have counters galore, and then exile your entire deck.
yeah.
But
All right. Next one. Balin the Haymaker. So I built this one, and it really underperformed, in my opinion.
I think that it's a good card. I just feel like it's missing something, or maybe the pieces aren't all there. Because I've seen cards like that too.
Yeah, so it was a lot better with Dockside. Now that Dockside is not around, I don't know if this is as competitive. So Balin is a Naya commander, red, green, white. The big thing about Balin is it's a 3-cost, it's a 4/3, and you tap 2 untapped tokens you control, add 1 mana of any color, tap 3 untap tokens you control, draw a card, tap 4 untap tokens you control, put 3/1/1 counters on Balin. It gains trample until end of turn. That last one isn't as used in CDH, but you could get Dockside loops where you would basically tap 2 mana, two treasures for a mana, keep them around, and you could go infinite with Dockside, turn all of your infinite treasures into card draw and also mana. And there's a lot of like green white infinite token makers that are out this year. It seemed like it had promise. Naya usually has a really good time with stacks, but I felt like Balin was just too slow. It could slow the game down to where you could start doing your thing, but it was weird because you would be investing in stacks pieces to slow the game down, and then you'd be like, okay, I've slowed the game down enough. Now I'm going to try to go infinite tokens. Oh, I got stopped, and I'm in red, green, white, so I can't really stop anybody unless I silence. Yeah, like it was it shut the game down really well, and it tied really well, but didn't win really well. And I think with Dockside being gone, I don't see this being a contender as much as it was before.
I think that if you're still playing Balin and you're like, you guys don't know what you're talking about, send us a list.
Yeah. No,
Post it in the comments, because I'd be curious as to how do you capitalize on that without Dockside anymore.
Yeah, I pulled the full art of this card, so I wanna make it work.
I agree. I think it's a cool commander.
All right, next one. Gev Scaled Scorch, black red. So the big thing about Gev is basically if you get a creature that has persist, you can just win the game. other creatures you control enter with an additional +1/+1 counter on them for each opponent who lost life this turn. When you cast a lizard spell, it deals damage to target opponent. So you could go lizard tribal, which we will kind of see with Bloomburrow. There's some good like taxi, I guess, lizards that came out. But if you have a persist creature, persist is if it dies with a -1/-1 counter, it unless it has a -1/-1 counter, the creature will come back. So if you give every creature a +1/+1 counter, two +1/+1 counters, because both of your opponents lost life, that persist creature can just loop. So it's really easy to create a situation where you're looping a creature, either sacrificing it over and over and over again to get like infinite mana, or there's creatures that they just deal damage when they come in and they have persist. So you're just like, all right, well, I just kill everybody now.
I mean, there's tremors too.
Yeah, and impact tremors, where even if all you can do is just loop, not generate anything, but you can ETB a creature infinitely, you're in impact tremors. So yeah, and like, there's a lot of red cards now that also every time a creature comes in, like there's like off the top of my head 4 or 5 different cards that do that. So
I like this guy a lot. I first off, it's a little lizard.
yeah,
Um,
a mercenary lizard for hire.
I thought initially that he would be really good in Obnixis, but I could see him stand alone too.
Yeah,
like I really like this guy.
This is one of my decks that like I've built 3 decks since the bans, so I don't want to build a 4th one. But I really like him. Like is he Rakdos the muscle? No, but also he's a little guy and I like him. Another one that we got this year was Glarb, Calamity's Augur. So black, green, blue. This is the one that we're kind of interested in because you can play lands and cast spells with mana value 4 or greater from the top of your library. So all your 2 top tutors, if they're 4 or greater, just become, oh, I can cast them. Like this 1 cost tutor, just basically put it in my hand, which there's a lot of really fun things that you can do. Like you can mystical tutor a Mindbreak Trap to top and or Mindbreak Trap to top and then cast it with Glarb on the field. Like a lot of really fun stuff. If you guys didn't catch our episode last release, we go over a couple deck lists with Glarb, and I think he has a lot of potential. He looks like a lot of fun.
Again, I do think this is one that I'm going to build very soon.
Yeah. Miss Bumbleflower. So I had a lot of hopes from Miss Bumbleflower. If you're a longtime listener, our Bloomburrow episode, I was real excited about Miss Bumbleflower. I will definitely say that all of the bands kind of, for me, put Miss Bumbleflower behind. One of the big things that was cool with Miss Bumbleflower was running Nadu with the core mercenaries, where you could just target Nadu over and over and over again and win the game that way. And then also with Miss Bumbleflower, whenever you cast a spell, target opponent draws a card and you put a 1/1 counter on target creature. There were a lot of loops that never did anything. They were just loops. Like you could just keep casting the same creature over and over again. And with Miss Bumbleflower, anything that was you casting a spell that looped would make your opponent draw cards and draw them out of the game, and it would kill them. And what I thought was cool was you could draw your opponent out, and if they did anything, like they cast a spell at the end, you could be like, cool, on top of that, I make you draw and you die and your spell falls off. So like
That's awesome.
Yeah, it didn't really go anywhere. I've seen a couple entries with Miss Bumbleflower. I don't think I've seen it top 16 in any like giant events. She's still going to be one of those cards that like I keep to the side and I remember that she exists because she's in pretty good colors and also has a pretty good effect. And like, in my opinion, cast triggers are super strong. Like, I don't even care if you counter this spell. Like, my cast trigger goes on the stack. and like you can make her giant really easily. We had played some games with the deck that I put together, and the deck needed like a little bit of tweaking, which it never got after the bans. But there were times where I was just like, yeah, I loop the game and kill everybody and I win. There were times where I was like, yeah, I can't really do a loop to where everybody, dies, but I can make this bumbleflower flying in a 40-40 and I can hit you in the face. So whoever I feel like is going to stop me, you're dead. Like,
That was usually me.
yeah, there's Sage of Hours that if you cast like 5 spells or 7 spells, you just get a free turn, and if you can do that, you just take infinite turns. There's Eternal Witness now, or not. Is it Eternal Witness? The one that came out in MH3 that when you put a 1/1 counter on it, you get something back from the grave. I know Kenrith has been abusing it.
Oh, I'm not real sure on that one.
Yeah. I know it's like E-Witness. It's a play on E-Witness, but it's not E-Witness. Yeah, I mean, it seemed like it had everything that it needed to be a CDH commander. It's just one generic green, white, blue, and it's a like kill on sight commander. That's a 1/5. So
I do think that she's almost there. Like there's a couple of cards she probably needs. What those are, I don't know. But I would say don't forget about Miss Bumbleflower because I think she'll be coming back.
I think if Magic ever looked at her and went, we want her to be competitive, and they made like a bespoke card for her in the next set, like I think she'd be pretty good. And maybe like there is a card out there that we just haven't found yet. But I feel like the thing that makes her not competitive is she's like one really good synergy card away from like being good.
Yep, she's a Tivit from a time seed.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, like once that's a good example. Once she gets like her time sieve, basically, like great.
Yeah, I think that's all she really needs.
Yeah,
I think that she's in a different class than the lizard though, because the lizard is just a slow roll. This one really only needs one or two things.
Yeah,
it's gonna go.
Yeah, and I mean, like I've won a lot of games with her. It's just every time I win, I'm just like I fought tooth and nail for this win.
Yeah, I like her a lot.
Flubs the Fool. I've never seen Flubs win. Just to put that out there.
That's exactly where I was gonna go. I was like, I like him. He's a frog. He's a dancing frog, kinda.
Yeah.
Looks like he's about to dance.
So his art is based off the tarot card for the Fool.
Mm.
So if you look at the old original tarot card art for the Fool, it's a guy holding a like hobo backpack and a flower. And in this, it's a frog in the same suit, and they made the flower really, really big because he's a frog. So I thought that alone was win for me. And he's a frog. Yeah.
I mean, he's a very interesting commander as well. Like, there's a lot of really sneaky, tricky things you can do with him. Again, I know that he's a really cool casual.
Yeah.
I don't see it being a really good CEDH, but it can contend, which is really weird.
Yeah. He's teamer, so green, blue, red, which we've not really seen that color combination get a great commander. So there's like, clearly like team ups, like there's partners, but we've not seen a lot of, like, if you play those colors, you're pretty much playing like partner commanders. So this was one of the first ones that we saw that we were like, this has potential. And like, there's a lot of things that cause him to just go through his entire deck and play everything. But it's one of those things where it's like, when it happens, it happens. And when it doesn't, it doesn't. And does it happen 25% of the time? Not really. Yeah.
I mean, it's missing consistency.
Which is weird because it's blue and green. So it's the colors that give you consistency. So
yeah, but red is a really awkward
It's a volatile color. Yeah.
It's a really weird thing to mesh into that. Red is pretty good with black, in my opinion.
Yeah. If it was white and he could silence, I'd
Yeah.
be a little bit more scared of him. But he's a glass cannon, which if you're a glass cannon and you win, you know, more than 25% of the time, great. But if you're a glass cannon and you're not really seeing any benefit of that, like, eh. Is this a great, very flavorful commander? Yes. I've played it a couple times in tournaments, and every time somebody sat down with flubs, the entire table was like, "I love that card. Thank you for building this deck. I can't wait to see you play it."
Yeah. I mean, I've just never really seen it win is my big thing. I've
Yeah.
played it maybe once or so, but
In tournaments, like physical face-to-face tournaments, I've played it 3 times.
mm,
I never looked at his flavor art. He knows exactly where he's going and exactly how he isn't getting there. Like every time I see flubs, I always remember our review where it's like we thought it would be funny to make your like goat deck where you would gift things to people, where like the entire point of the deck was just to give flubs to somebody else, or like if somebody has like a gilded drake, they're like flubs is about to go off, like you better take flubs. It's like, no, I don't want flubs. Flubs sucks. Like I'm not bringing flubs over to my side of the field. I'll lose. Like
yeah, that's funny.
Master of Keys. It is an Esper commander with X in the mana cost. Whenever the Master of Keys enters, put X 1/1 counters on it and mill twice X cards. Each enchantment card in your graveyard has escape. So this is another card that we went over in our last episode. I really do not mean to keep plugging it, but it's a good episode. So if you haven't seen it and you're watching this one, probably queue it up. This was a card I didn't really understand very well until we went over it. Like I knew it had potential whenever it was spoiled, and I saw a lot of people, but I saw a lot of people say it was good, but I never realized you could mill your entire deck, put Thassa and Animate Dead in your graveyard, and then the next thing you do is escape Animate Dead, attaching it to Thassa's, and then you just win. Like,
I thought that this one was a really interesting Esper commander. I did lean more towards Tivit. However, this one, um, I don't want to say, I feel like it would be faster than Tivit.
the moment you get infinite mana, you win. Like, there's not really much question about that.
Mm.
Because there's a lot of like flash enchantments that you can kind of play on the stack to kind of have some say. Like, you're not just like, okay, I melt my entire deck, Thassa Animate Dead, and then they're like, sorry, counter Animate Dead, and then you're like, oh darn, like, or they're like, Noxious Revival, Thassa at the top of your deck. You're like, I actually have some stuff to say about that,
Yeah, I think that this one is. We haven't seen the last of this one. I think it's going to be in most of the tournaments.
Yeah, the thing I've always heard people say about Kenrith that they like is once you go infinite mana with Kenrith as your commander, you just win. Like, you just summon him, you use all of his abilities, and you just win. This is a Esper version of it, so a lot more refined. I will say it's probably harder to go infinite mana in Esper because you don't have green or some other key colors that might help. But I think the payoff is worth it, and then also you're in really controlly colors. So like, even if you can't, let's say you like never hit that infinite mana, well, Demonic Consultation, Thassa's with 2 counters in hand pretty much is a win.
I mean, it's a win con in the command zone, and it gives you access to Esper. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's got something.
Yeah. All right, next one. I will probably blow over this one. So this is Niv Mizzet Visionary. 4 colorless, blue, red. It's very similar to the other Niv Mizzet that was 3 blue and 3 red. Whenever Jeweled Lotus was banned, that it was one of the commanders that everybody was like, this commander is dead. Like, this is why Jeweled Lotus is important. Every Niv Mizzet player is just done now. Like, their deck is dead. Number one, you weren't a Nadu player, so my deck was actually dead and had to get taken apart. Not that we're comparing stories. Everybody's special. Everybody's trauma is you know, unique and appropriate, and we love you. But
I think I had the worst in the bands.
I'm this is a family podcast, so I'm not going to say what came to mind.
Literal head shake. That's awesome.
But this was something that came out pretty close after, so I think that this is kind of showing Magic knew that was going to happen and tried to print a backup. It's not the same, it's not as good, but at least this is an option if you just really want to play Niv Mizzet. I'm not a Niv Mizzet or an Izzet player myself, so I don't really know if this really does hit the nail on the head, but it seems like it does. But I thought it was cool that basically everybody had a concern of like Niv Mizzet is dead, and then the next set it's like, here's this new Niv Mizzet that can take its place.
I mean, with it not having multiple pips other than just the blue red, you can use like Mana Volt and other things. So
Yeah,
I
and you're
get
in
it.
red, so your red rituals now can contribute as much as it needs.
Yeah, I can kind of push it through.
Yeah,
I get it. I wouldn't. I mean, Niv Mizzet was kind of. I don't want to say it was bland. I know I'm going to get hate in the comments, but
I love Niv Mizzet. I'm just
I just felt like that was everybody's like first move was the curiosity.
yeah. And I don't even know if you can do that combo with this card, honestly. I know that like this one is lacking the damage component, so you have to find a way to deal damage. And the other part of it is a very key word that I look for in CDH is you may. This one is not you may. You draw that many cards. So you got to figure out how to kill everybody and not kill yourself with this one.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well,
Otherwise, seems pretty good. Like,
I mean, a placeholder for sure.
yeah. Plagon, Lord of the Beach. So we're working on something special. It's not out yet, so I'm still going to keep it under wraps. But Plagon plays a really big role in the thing that we ended up doing.
I have a newfound hate for him. Just saying.
Well, hate and respect. It's like that in Get 'em to the Greek, where it's like, I respect you, but I hate you.
It's peppered.
So it's peppered. Yeah.
No, it's this is probably one of the biggest CEDH commanders of the year. I think I would throw that out there.
That's bold.
I like it.
I agree. But that's bold. Like
Of this year?
yeah. I mean, I agree. I guess I don't know. I'll
what's a better one?
Rakdos the Muscle.
I guess. You know what Rakdos is missing?
Counters. Yeah.
You know what he has?
Counters and draw and silence.
I mean,
and he's a 3 cost that it's too generic.
You get the complete opposite of Rakdos the Muscle in this.
Yeah.
The issue with Azorius though is that it's not as fast.
Yeah.
Like Rakdos, you win or lose pretty much in the first 4 turns. This guy is gonna win given time.
Yeah, and I will say, like, with Plagon is a deck that, like, I'm pretty sure everyone will start to realize what to do. You just counter Plagon the first time he comes out, and you slow them down to the point where it's a pretty fair match after that. The only thing is, like, well, if they counter your counter, then you gotta convince the table to toss in with you. You know?
I mean, I feel like it would be a Tivit situation to where you just play him a little slower.
Yeah.
I mean, you can set up this.
Yeah.
This is very easily a setup game, and then just kind of hold your counters, kind of hold them, and then you just explode.
We
This I've played a few of these things, and they're pretty nasty.
we played somebody on spell table with this, and I had to ask, hey, is that your deck that's on the field, or did you just put your hand down? Like,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like they lock the game down pretty well, and they can play around their own lockdown. So I like it. I'm looking forward to the SpongeBob Secret Layer art of it, because you know Patrick is going to be Plagon Lord of Beach.
Has to be.
Yeah.
Has to
Also,
be.
hidden Barbie movie tie-in, because it was Beach Ken, and what he did was beach. This is Plagon. He's the Lord of the Beach. What does he do? Beach.
I would say that watch this guy. I think that as far as Azorius is concerned, I would be dare I be bold enough to say that this is better than Shorkai.
Oh, 100%. Like, no question is it better than Shortcry, in my opinion. Like, if you want to play Azorius, Plagon is now the thing you look at. Like, I know that some people were like trying to play Lavinia because she's a legendary creature. I don't see it either. Like, getting Lavinia out really quickly is okay, but you can also help somebody win, which has happened to me a couple times where I'm like, oh, this person just played Lavinia. I can win on my turn. Thank you.
Well, stacks in the command zone isn't as good as a win in the command zone. This gives value almost immediately.
Because it's also when it enters. So like, let's say I cast Plagon. If you don't creature counter Plagon, I'm drawing 5 cards. And after he enters, you swords them. Cool. My ability's still on the stack. Like,
I want to stress this. 5 cards in Azorius is 1 or 2 counters.
yeah.
That that's the that's the thing that most decks hold a few counters. This is I'm loaded.
Well, a lot of people are sleeping on his last ability too. Like, target creature you control assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power this turn. So like, there's a lot of big old boys that are like 1/4s or like 0/5s or stuff like that. That like Plagon runs for stacks, and then all of a sudden, if you have excess colored mana, you're just like, I'm just gonna swing. Like, I've got 30 damage on board, or like you could easily have 20 damage on board between 4 creatures. Like,
I mean, it plays quite a few big ended creatures.
yeah.
So like a lot of I think it played at least 1 wall, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it wasn't a defender.
It plays
I
that
can't.
Ixalan 1/4 that makes all artifacts come in tapped. I always forget about that. But I mean, like, um oh man, I'm spacing on names today. The guy that you can't summon your commander while he's out, the white card.
Oh, Dranith.
Dranith's 1/3, so he's a 3/1 if Plagon decides to swing with him.
I really think that this is one of the best. This is clearly one of the best on the list. But
Yeah.
I would build this one, but Azorius is just not my cup of tea
Hmm.
personally.
I just want to win. Like,
I
I
don't.
want to win fast.
I don't mind. This is a sheriff deck.
I've had too many games where I've clearly been set up to win, and everybody's just been like, oh, well, if we sandbag, we get a point. So like, I personally don't want to play any decks like that anymore. Plagon doesn't really do that, but if you play him, if you lean too heavily into stacks, you could have that situation. I like my fast decks now. Like, I've got a new appreciation for, yeah, I just come in and win, and then I have 50 minutes to use the bathroom and mingle.
I agree. There's definitely a recipe to tournaments. I do think that this is a scary deck on the field.
Yeah. I mean, we saw firsthand, like, oh no, he played Plagon, and oh no, Displacer Kitten. Do we lose here? You know,
Well,
like,
the issue is it's like, well, he just drew 4 cards.
yeah.
And then
Oh,
the next turn he drew 2
yeah.
cards. And
It's like,
then
oh, he has Teferi Kitten combo now. Yeah.
it's like, oh my
Yeah.
God.
I think the only problem with Plagon is like, for the most part, you have to draw your win cons. So like you're not black tutoring them to your hand or anything, but I mean like you're drawing so much it's pretty likely you're gonna get it. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll have 15 cards in hand before your
Yeah.
turn.
The only thing that would suck is like let's say like you start the game with Kitten in your hand and then you need Teferi and Teferi's on the bottom. Like not much you can do about that as Plagon.
Well, I usually forget Force of Will. I'm just throwing it here.
Yeah. Oh, well,
We're not even doing it.
yeah, we're not even doing it, but that's how impactful Plagon is. Tamayo, Inquisitive Student. She's a single blue, and then flips into blue green. So two colors, even though we're only showing one color here. On the other side, she is a planeswalker. This came out. I've seen it in a couple decks, but I've seen people play it as a commander. What everybody really likes about it is turn 1, if you have a blue, you've got Tamayo out. She makes a lot of impact really early. There's certain decks where you can just kind of lock the game down to where no one can really do damage to you. And her -7, I want to say, is like draw half of your deck and you have no maximum hand size or something like that. Normally, I'd really look at these commanders if I'm going to put them on the list, but I didn't really see this one as a commander. Like I saw it, it put a little twinkle in my eye because I was like, that looks fun, but like, will this win tournaments? No. So like,
I think it's good tech.
yeah, I think it's good tech. I run it in Storm, and it's really good in Storm. Would I want it to be? It's kind of like the Ragavan problem, where it's like, oh, Ragavan's great. I could have a deck where I have a mono red deck that's Ragavan, and every turn 1, I always have Ragavan because he's in the command zone. It's like, okay, what do you do after that, though? You know?
What do you do turn 2 or 3
Yeah.
when there's another creature on field?
Yeah, it's like on every time I see Ragavan, I always kind of am like, why has no one tried to do like a mono red Ragavan CDH deck? And I'm like, I know why. You know, like immediately answered. And that's kind of where I am with her. She looks really fun. And the other thing that's kind of cool is like she also is blue green. So like you have a commander that always comes down turn 1, but you still are a 2-color deck. Usually you're locked into a monocolor with that. So I definitely see why people are drawn to her. I just don't think that she can win. Like I think she would be a deck that like if you built it and you played with your friend group, you'd have a blast. And then you take it to a tournament and you'd just be like, I'm the worst Magic player in the world. I got beat to hell and back. You know?
The problem with her though is that Kennen exists.
Yeah.
And whereas Kennen has this taboo and fear, she doesn't.
Yeah.
But you also don't deal with Dockside anymore. So it's Kennen, who cares if you drop every rock known to man with Kennen?
Yeah.
I mean, you're not getting any value.
Yeah, really the only thing that stops you with Kennen now is other people, all 3 of your opponents going, oh, he's playing Kennen, let's make sure he loses. Like,
yeah, it's the hate factor that stops Kennen.
Somebody go tutor a Grafdigger's Cage. Cool. Oh, you listen to me and you burned a tutor on that? Great. You know, like
Yeah.
Duskana, the Rage Mother. 2 colorless, red, green, white. This is a food chain commander. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card for each creature you control with base power and toughness. 2/2 is really the relevant thing. There are a lot of 2/2 creatures in those colors in CDH, and a lot of them, i.e. Grand Abolisher, silences your turn. So you could play Grand Abolisher, play Food Chain, win.
And it's a bear.
Yeah.
If it's a bear, frog, or lizard, it's the best.
Yeah. So like I'm surprised I haven't seen this more. I mean, I know that it is 5, so and you do need squee. Like it's not just play Grand Abolisher, play Food Chain, win. Like there's you do have to have squee too. But once that happens, you can draw every card in your deck, and then you have some creature combo that you can play that just wins the game. So I am surprised I haven't seen it as much. Really, it doesn't do anything outside of the Food Chain combo. Ideally, a Food Chain type of commander can hold its own even without Food Chain. I think that's what brings this one back, but I just wanted to put it in because I know everybody was kind of excited about it when it came out. And then on top of it, I think everybody's kind of in a like reflection mood, especially in these like year in review podcasts. There's been a couple of commanders that I'm like, why don't I see this more? And Duskana is kind of on that list for me where it's like,
To me, not so much personally because of the ban of Dockside. Dockside hurt a lot of these commanders.
yeah,
I mean, this would have played Dockside.
this is a you go all in on Food Chain now.
And Food Chain is stoppable.
Yeah, you don't have blue to keep it protected. Like you have to Grand Abolisher first and hope that resolves and then just go into it.
I mean, there's a lot of white abolisher effects, and you can use Cutzel.
Well, so the problem is it's 2/2. So Grand Abolisher is a 2/2. Cutzel's a 3/3. So it has very specific things that work with it. But a lot of the like you'd be surprised how many creatures that are auto include in white, red, and green that are 2/2s.
Yeah,
So like you're surprisingly not to get a really good synergy effect, you're surprisingly not adjusting your deck too much.
yeah, but I feel like this color combo isn't as good,
Yeah.
and I I love the bear. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, but there's better Food Chain decks too.
Yeah, that's true. All right, next one. This one is another one of those I just want everybody to remember that came out and it's a thing. Marvo Deep Operative, 3 colorless, blue black. It's an octopus rogue. Whenever it attacks, clash with the defending player. Whenever you win a clash, draw a card. Then you may cast a spell from your hand with mana value 8 or less without paying its mana cost. So like, it's pretty cool. It's a deck where you can put a bunch of big bombs into it, and whenever you win a clash, which clashing with a player, you reveal the top card of your library, then put that card on the top or bottom. A player wins if their card has the higher mana value. So you're trying to build a deck with a bunch of big boys. And then whenever you cast those big boys, or when you draw those big boys through the clash, you get to play them for free. And then also, a lot of those cards, like you have to build a clash deck. Well, this one, when he attacks, you just clash with somebody. And you can clash multiple times a turn. At the end of the day, the problem with him is he costs 5, and you pretty much want to attack with him right away. So, like, your hands are not great. You have a lot of things that, like, you're planning on casting them for free that they're in your deck. So, like, it has problems, and those problems are probably not problems he can overcome and be CDH competitive. But, like, you're
Holds
also
a lot of junk.
Yeah, but you're also in Demir, so like let's say you like clash into Thassa combo, great. You can also tutor things to your hand that are 8 mana value 8, and you know that you're gonna clash, so you're just like, cool, well I'm gonna swing with Marvo, tutor something to top. It's big giant card. I know I'm gonna win the clash. I'm gonna drop this, Tide Spout Tyrant or like Hullbreaker, which I don't know if those are 8 or less. I think they are off the top of my head, but
I don't think they cost 8.
well, like 8 or less.
Maybe.
Yeah. So like it had potential. It was so fun doing like dry runs of the deck on Moxfield. Like I still have it on Moxfield, but it's kind of a pie in the sky commander deck. I know that I think Comedian said that he helped Magic develop this card. So I'm surprised he hasn't tried to take it to a tournament. But just another one of those where I knew a lot of people were brewing it. I knew it was really fun. And the other thing I like to point out is if you look at its magic code, the magic code is 0007. So it's a Octopus Rogue Spy 007 Deep Operative.
That's funny.
Yeah, which I just thought was cool.
So bears, octopus,
Frogs.
frogs,
Really just
lizards,
any creatures in general. Like,
no, it's a specific list.
yeah,
It's got about 30 different creatures.
Bunnies I don't care for as much.
Nah, unless it's the hair.
Oh, the hair apparent? Yeah, that one's cool.
That one's okay.
If it was legendary, it'd be on this list. Yeah.
No.
Stella Lee wild card. One generic blue red. I think everybody went against this card if they played around the time that Thunder Junction came out. Everybody was building it. It was everywhere. We had a friend that built it. It was a card that it was a kill on sight commander, and if you didn't know how it won, it would slip in wins. And when everybody learned how it won, it was not slipping those in anymore. I think everybody had somebody be like, oh, well, I'm not winning. I'm just going to cast this aura on Stella Lee. And then everybody's like, okay, whatever, pass. And then they're like, well, that was my third card. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, no. I'm not a big fan of Stella Lee.
She fell off really hard. I do not think we'll see Stella Lee come back. I've even tried to put her in the 99. Like I tried to put her in the 99 of Storm, and there are just so many better cards to put in that she ended up kind of falling out. Was a really cool commander when she came out. And I mean, like, a lot of people built her. Like, we saw her. I played against her every tournament for the first half of the year. So people really liked her that played her. But I think once everybody kind of figured out her game, she just fell off and was no longer a competitive commander. Like, I still do see her slip in some wins, but we're not seeing top 16s with Stella Lee anymore.
I get her mixed up with the cat that creates.
The Starfall cat. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't even know if they're in the same colors. It's just
no. The Starfall cat is green red.
It just I don't know why it reminds me of them both.
They're similar concepts. Yeah. They both have cowboy hats too. One's a cat though.
Gotta be it. Yeah. They look the same. 100%. Same person.
I do not know if we'll see her carry into 2025, but wanted to bring her up because she was everywhere at the beginning of 2024, and I mean, is cool too. Like, a lot of good value in Is It. The fact that they made an Is It commander work in CDH for quite a while, that was not Kark Sakashima, really cool.
It's also low to the ground. It's 3 to cast,
and it's a cowboy hat, and she's got a big butt. Like, not talking about the art. I'm talking about the 4.
Clearly.
Yeah. Clearly talking about the power and toughness. Yeah. Kid-friendly podcast. This guy's a little weird. Another one that I don't think that we'll see anymore with Dockside Band. Vahan Goldwaker. Mardu, so red, white, black. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may have treasures you control become 3/3 construct assassin artifacts creatures in addition to their other types until end of turn. I believe people were amassing like tons of treasures with him and then like dockside payoff, and then you just, instead of using all of those treasures to cast cards, you were just moving to combat, hasting them and killing everybody through combat damage.
I haven't really seen too many decks of him.
I've seen him twice in tournaments. I've never seen him win. It's another one of those, like,
there's back when this had to have been good. Dahada was probably a better Mardu.
Yeah, or Dami Mommies.
Dami Mommies is strong too.
Yeah, Timna,
Jessica,
yeah. You don't really see Mardu colors very often outside of Dahada and those. I thought it was interesting that for a little bit he had something.
Had a shine.
Yeah, now that Dockside's gone, I really don't think that he could make a comeback. it was just cool to see somebody enter into a color combination that we don't really see very often and be a viable contender for a little bit. And he's just one that's kind of in my head as like, if I have this card, it's going to go in a box of potential brews and builds in the future, but I don't think it's CDH anymore.
I think he's dropped down to possibly like high casual.
Yeah. Oh, other outlaws you control have vigilance and haste. So he himself gives vigilance and haste to his 3/3 construct assassins.
So they swing. You could
Yeah.
swing and then use them to cast stuff.
Yeah, so you could dockside, get 5 treasures, move to combat,
Could.
swing for 15 damage. They would have vigilance, and then you could use the treasures after that.
The issue now is though, if you're using dockside, you're playing casual.
Yeah, if you're using dockside, you're rule zeroing that card. You're not even casualing it. Like, you can't play casual. Like, that's why they banned him, because he was too strong in casual.
Well, you can rule 0 because that's what all casuals do.
Yeah. Yep. This is not an episode about the bans. We'd be in it for a while. Oh yeah, we are going to get to an hour and a half.
I already
shouldn't have
knew.
said anything.
I already knew. I wasn't gonna say nothing. See, the problem is once we put cards on the screen, it's a lot easier for us to just go off.
I like cards. Cards are cool.
Amen.
Fibblefip, Lost on the Range. 1 generic blue. Word 2, you may look at the top card of your library at any time. Top card of your library has plot. You can plot it equal to the mana cost. You may plot non-land cards from the top of your library.
Not even gonna lie. This is the first time I've seen this card.
It was at a tournament we were at, and it did pretty well.
Never played it.
So Fibbleflip is a little bit of a weird one. It's a mono blue commander. Basically, plot a lot of this deck. What it does is it plots a fourth of its deck, and then it passes turn and goes, I can use them next turn for free.
Yeah.
The thing that keeps this back to where I just don't see it being a contender is your mono blue. So you're plotting your counter spells that you now have to cast at sorcery speed. So, is that good? No. But
and then you're also like, or you're trying to just rush, and you don't rush in blue.
Yeah. I will say that the guy that played this was a contender. He'd figured it out. Would he have won a lot more games with a different deck and the same skills? Probably. Like if he was playing Magda, probably would have done better. I understand though, like for me, whenever I play, I'm not playing to win in a tournament. Like I want to have fun. So like if that's how you have fun and you're just happy that you get a couple wins, great. I do not think it'll be a contender in 2025, but really anything that I've seen in a tournament, I would feel amiss if I didn't bring it up in this year-end review.
Yeah, I think that it's interesting. The plot mechanic was real strange when it came out.
Yeah.
And I get what you're saying now, that they would all be sorcery speed, which is kind of
mono blue. If it was any other color, it'd be fine.
Yeah, no. I don't like it.
I like Fibbleflip though, and he's in a cowboy hat.
Yeah, he's got a hat. He's got an eye. There's some drakes and dragons in the background.
Fibbleflip, better than Loot. Better mascot than Loot. I want to kick Loot like a football, and I don't want to do that with Fibbleflip. So, if you like Loot,
he's just a guy in a cowboy hat that's lost.
Yeah,
he's always lost.
Loot elicits a reaction where I just want to kick him like a football. Fibbleflip does not.
Yeah.
If you're a Loot fan, I'm very sorry, but Fibbleflip is far superior.
Yeah, 100%. He has a cowboy hat.
Geralf the Flashright. Ooh, I almost made this not a family podcast. Flashright, 2 generic blue. Whenever you cast a spell during your turn, other than your first spell, create 2/2 blue black zombie rogue creature token. When a zombie enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on it for each other zombie that entered the battlefield under your control this turn. One of our friends built this, and it's funny. So basically, you just have him. You have every cantrip in the game that's one blue that you cast it and you draw a card. And you just poop out a whole bunch of zombies that basically make a ladder. So it's like a 2/2, a 3/3, a 4/4. Like he had a hard time representing his board state. But
I think that this guy is almost there.
yeah,
I think that this is a high casual deck. Like if you're gonna play high powered, will this win in a CEDH setting? Yes.
this is going to go in Storm.
Yeah, I can see it.
Like, how cool would this be in Storm? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I could see it for sure because now you've got an army.
I think it would be a pet card. Like, now that I'm saying it, the thing about Storm is you kind of get to bust your hand once or twice and then you're done. And you never want to bust your hand and not win the game. So, like, let's say I bust my hand and I get a 2/2, a 3/3, a 4/4, and a 5/5. Like, and I pass. That's not good. Like,
I mean, that's the problem with this
Yeah.
too because none of them have haste.
yeah. And you're in blue, so you can't really give them haste.
Anytime you make an army or you do something and then pass the turn, like I feel like it's high powered.
In Storm, I run all of the enchantments that give haste too. And I still wouldn't consider this in Storm because it's like, okay, so let's say I get, was that, if you go all the way up to 5, it's 5, 9, 4, I get 14 damage for dropping my hand to somebody on the ground. Meh. Yeah, like,
Yeah, no.
and then I've also had to enable haste on every creature on the battlefield after that. Yeah, I don't think it'll go in.
I mean, it's almost there, but I feel the mechanic is high powered
Yeah.
at best. Like, is it better than some random legendary creature? Yes.
The thing I remember is when we played our friend, it's a cast trigger. So like there were times where I'm like, oh, we need to mind break trap. Like his entire thing. He's like, no, I've already got the triggers. Like they're there. You can mind break trap. It doesn't remove the triggers. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Uh-oh. Like it can just kind of surprise when I don't really remember how he was winning in one turn. I think he was just like setting up death and passing, but like he would set up death and pass so quickly that no one could go like, oh, we need a supreme verdict or like we need a dam or.
I mean, you see it. I mean, it's like turn 2-ish and then you turn 3, you cast a bunch and then turn 4 and 5, you're about to start winning.
Yeah. I remember specifically I had a toxic deluge in hand and I was like, I'm not paying 20 life to like save everybody else, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's interesting. I think if you're really looking for a mono blue commander and you just really like creatures and zombies, like this gives you a unique deck that probably no other creature will give you in mono blue, but it's cool. I like it. Do I think we'll see it in any top 16 lists? Like, no.
No. Again, high powered. A lot of fun to play. I played it once at a table, just casually. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Rakdos the Muscle. He's great. So he's my new deck that I'm playing right now. 2 generic black, red. But it has a lot of text. He's a flying trample 6/5. Basically, every time you sacrifice a creature, you take its mana value and exile cards from the top of anybody's deck, including your own. And until your next end step, you may play those cards, and mana of any type can be spent to cast those spells. And then he has on himself sacrifice a creature, only do it once a turn. He's really good. All of your black and red rituals that just net you a bunch of mana, you can use to cast anything on the field that you exile. You can decide to exile your opponent's decks. Like you can exile your own stuff. You can get in a situation where you're like, I'm not really going to win if I exile 6 cards off the top of my deck, but Sisay just put something on top of their deck and I don't want them to have it. So I'm going to sack, before you can get your draw, you put a draw trigger on the stack. I'm going to sack a creature and exile the thing you just brought to the top. It's got a lot of counterplay, surprisingly, for black red. It can just, there's been times where turn 2 or 3, I've taken a 30-40 minute turn and everybody's like, Aaron, are you winning? And I'm like, I don't know, but I'm trying.
I've tried something.
Like I will get so far ahead that while I may pass the turn, you guys won't have cards in your hand. So
Yeah.
it plays a lot of the evoke creatures, and it also plays a lot of fun black creatures that, like, there's a creature that when it dies, everybody discards their entire hand that Rakdos runs. And I mean, for a lot of the times you're cracking a lion's eye and just going, okay, well, my hand's gone, but also you guys' hands are
Yeah,
gone.
have
So
fun with
like,
that.
yeah, I've got 3 mana, you don't. Yeah. It's also in wheel colors, it's in tutor colors. There's a lot of sacrifice shenanigans. It's Rakdos Scam, but in Commander, which is really fun. And I've liked it so far. It's definitely a very it is my definition of glass cannon, because I've had a card in hand and I've been like, all right, well, I'm going to sacrifice this giant creature that I cheated out on turn 1 or 2, and then someone's just like, I'm a mental misstep that sacrifice, and I'm just like, ooh, that hurts. All right, well, I'm doing nothing the rest of the game. Like, GG.
Yeah, a lot of feast and famine. But
Yeah,
I mean, Rakdos is that way.
yeah. It's a lot of fun. If you're the type of person that likes to take 100 actions on a turn, and have from very little just build and build and build and build till you get to the point where you're like, okay, I've played like 30 cards this turn. I think I can win. And really, the thing that started this turn was a dark ritual, and that was it. It's a lot of fun, and it did really well at the boil. I think it got top 8, if not top 4. So it has legs, and also you have a 6/5 flying trample commander that you can just start hitting people with.
Rakdos is one of my favorite OGs too. Like
Yeah,
if you look at commanders or legendary creatures
yeah,
in that arc, I mean, I have a Rakdos, Lord of Riots, that I
yeah.
really like.
I really liked the Ravnica Rakdos guild, because everybody was like clowns and like circus people, and it was just very well defined. Like the whole was it Unleash, where it comes in with haste or a 1/1 counter, was a lot of fun. Like when we kind of started playing in Ravnica pretty heavily, like Ravnica and Mirrodin, so it always like has nostalgia for me too.
It's a card, man. I
Yeah.
think that this is a contender too. I do think the Starfish is a little better just because of the colors.
Yeah, and
But
it also costs 3, where Rakdos costs 5. Like,
and it's single colored.
yeah,
So
getting Rakdos out you can do it pretty quickly, but it's very, like, if anybody messes at all with you trying to get out Rakdos, you're like, oh well, I'm done. Like,
I will say the big difference between summoning Rakdos and summoning the Starfish is that when you're summoning Rakdos, the chances of you winning are pretty high. But
yeah.
summoning the Starfish is like, I'm going to set up. Like, I'm about to get a bunch of cards and then, let's go.
For me to get Rakdos out, I'm dropping at least 3 cards from my hand too. That I'm not in blue, so I'm not going to recover. Like, I'm going to be 3 cards behind. So
Yeah. I mean, feast or famine, though.
yeah, he's fun. Like, you definitely need to know your windows with Rakdos, because like you're in black red, so if you try to go and somebody stops you, you're just like, ah, darn. Yeah.
I mean, when that card gets on the stack, the other three players are looking at each other and it's like, can you do anything about this? Or are we giving him the game?
Yeah,
I like it.
it's fun. I like it. It wins. Uh, Next one is the Master Transcended. This is another one kind of Stella Lee, where at the beginning of the year we saw it a lot and it just fell off. I'm gonna have to say that if you play the Master, probably should just move to Glarb. Honestly, at the end of the day,
I could see that. Yeah.
if you like food chain decks, the Master is a good food chain deck. I think it just had too many working parts with its combo, where it was kind of hard to stop. But I know a lot of people were just happy that they could play something from Fallout, and he is a legendary artifact creature, which that is more relevant now. He's pretty good. He was pretty sticky whenever he first came out. won a lot of tournaments, and then I think it was another one of those. Everybody was just like, "Oh well, we need to put Noxious Revival in our deck because of the Master." Like, we know what to do now. So bye.
I can't believe that this was in this year.
Yeah,
I feel like
this was start of the year.
I feel like it was 2023, but it couldn't have been.
Yeah, I mean we had done the tournament that we got snowed in at. He was not out yet. So like, yeah, pretty crazy. Captain America, First Avenger. Like we said, one of our friends is building it. Top 16, really unique play style. I really think the only thing that holds it back is the fact that it's red, white, blue.
I was gonna say Jessica.
Yeah, like it takes a while to set up, but once it has all of the things that it needs, it's pretty good. Like, and you can run it stacksy, and you have a lot of options. It's very flexible. Like I do feel like it fits Captain America really well.
I do like that. Yeah, like you said, you're playing Captain America.
Yeah,
like it plays almost like you're throwing stuff, you're doing things like.
and you can back up into Voltron because at the beginning of combat on your turn, attach up to one target equipment you control to Captain America for free. So all of those like ridiculous like pay 10 to equip to Captain America, nah, it's free. Like.
It's just Jeskai.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that kind of slows it down. But I'm glad to see it as a contender, though.
Yeah, I have a soft spot for Voltron. That was the type of deck that I played whenever I first started getting into higher power commander. So the fact that Captain America can somewhat exist in the Voltron space, like the closest thing we had before was Godo, and Godo's not Voltron. It's a combo deck. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Like you could realistically just be like, well, I'm not going to win with my combo with Captain America, but I sure can slap someone and one shot them, and that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, let's take one player out of the game.
It's like, yeah, my deck's pretty slow, but you'd be surprised how fast the game goes when there's only you and somebody else. Storm, Force of Nature.
Not very good. Next one.
Yeah, not very good. Next one. I have not won a game with her in the last 5. I like her. She's kind of the definition of, I'm not really going to say glass cannon because like you have a lot of say about what's going on at the table, but she's kind of like, there's like video games where like you basically, she's a gun and you like have to load every single bullet in, and then you just shoot all 6 of them and just hopes it like one shots somebody. Like she's kind of like playing a sniper in like a video game where like you're not shooting as much as everybody else, but like if you headshot somebody, you just win. You know?
I like her. I do feel like there's a lot of setup to her. So she's one of those ones where it's, I put her on the field, watch out for my next turn.
And yeah. I've kind of figured that out somewhat by putting more like haste cantrips in the deck. But I mean, bringing out Storm, also putting a haste cantrip, and then still casting the spell that you need to do to win is tough. She can get to late game. Like you have a lot to say with her. And there are times where like we played a game where Najila was at the table and I was like, hey, I'm summoning Storm. If you guys don't let me have Storm, Najila will just swing in on me and build an army, and then we'll all lose. And then everybody was just like, oh, I guess I gotta let him have Storm. This feels bad.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It feels, to me, it kind of feels like a Tali with blue, but slower because there's so much setup. Like it's a lot of building for not as much payoff as I would like, but I do like her. She just wins out of nowhere. Like there were games where I played her and I was just like, all right, I'm going to storm up to 5 and I'm going to cast this spell. And if 3 copies of this spell resolve, I win. So like you guys can try to counter 2 copies. But if you can't counter 3 copies of the spell, I just win. And everybody was like, I can throw a counter at it. And someone else was like, well, I can throw a counter at it as well. It's like, yep. And then 3 will go through and I'll still win. And then everybody was
Yeah.
like, man, that feels bad that we can throw 2 counters at your combo and still, without you having to touch a counter, you still win.
I think she's one of the most unique commanders that have came out.
Her weakness, and I kind of saw it in the thing that we have coming up, is I Phyrexian probed you and saw that you had a mind break trap, and I was just like, until I can get him to take his grip off that mind break trap, I can't do nothing.
And I'm not getting rid of it.
And he never got rid of it. And then a Grafdigger's Cage came out, and I was just like, yeah, I'm done. Like, literally, I can't do anything. And I mean, like, that's not true. I was holding a Price of Progress, and I bombed the table for 20. But it was still fun. Like,
We were doing.
yeah. Yeah, I just there's definitely different ways I could build her. Like, I did see that she has the ability to do like CDH land destruction, but it doesn't, I don't feel like you're gonna win killing everybody's lands. So
No, I mean, it's a hard thing to do.
yeah.
I do feel that she is one that maybe the card isn't there yet.
Yeah. The fact that you just can't do anything if somebody holds on to a mind break trap is a problem. And then on top of it, if somebody plays a Grafdigger's Cage, for the most part, I'm just done. Which, I mean, you're in red, so you can run a braid. Like, you're not in a terrible spot like Kinnan would be. Kinnan kind of is just like, well, I guess I gotta into the Flood Maw this thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of setup, very fragile for not as much gain as I would like, but still like super fun. I do think Rakdos the Muscle will probably be my tournament deck. But I mean, I really like that I can play a deck that's fun that has blue in it too.
I know you've been holding on to this one quite a bit.
Yeah.
And it's there. I personally, just the mechanic to me is more of a high power casual. But she's almost there. It's weird.
Yeah. And like, there have been games where I'm just like, okay, well, I get Storm out, I haste her, and I cast Neoform, and I just win. Like, you guys can counter whatever you want. I've got counters 4 days.
Let's go.
Yeah. I like that she plays like one of those like glass cannon decks that doesn't have blue, yet she does have blue. I think that's kind of like where I'm at with her. And that is the last 2024 commander that is on my list. There are definitely other commanders that are probably viable that are out there that you might have seen in a tournament. This was more just what we have seen in tournaments and what we've played, or what maybe our friends have built, that we were like, okay, this is CDH, or things that, you know, if you entered halfway through 2024, you're just like, what is Stella Lee? You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this recap. Lots of data, lots of cards, and our next episode we'll be going over pretty much every card that came out in 2024 that has made an impact in CDH. This was just the commanders this time. Next time, I would definitely recommend finding our YouTube, subscribing, and doing that one visually. It will still be possible to listen to it as a podcast, especially if you're like currently playing CDH. I don't think you'll have any problem. But if you're the type of person that, like, when you hear a card name, like, it doesn't really click, that's how I am. I like to see the card up, so probably YouTube. But by the time this comes out, Christmas will be 2 days away. Hope you guys are having a great end of year, great holiday season, and we'll catch you in 2025.
Yeah. Have great holidays, guys.
All right. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.